I still remember that morning like it was yesterday. The sunlight slipped quietly through my apartment blinds, drawing lines across my kitchen table, the same table where I used to eat breakfast in a hurry before rushing to work. But that morning felt different. The air was heavy, still, almost warning me that something was about to change. I poured my coffee, black as usual, trying to silence the anxious hum in my chest. I had been working at Westbridge Media for almost 4 years. Loyal, disciplined, sometimes too dedicated for my own good. I wasn't the kind of employee who missed deadlines or made excuses. But lately, something had shifted. My boss, Rebecca, had started acting strange. Shorter replies, colder tone, and a new habit of calling me sweetheart in front of clients, just to put me down. I tried to ignore it, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. That morning, I walked into the office as usual. Coffee in hand, fake smile on my face, pretending everything was normal. The office smelled of printer ink and ambition, people glued to screens, chasing deadlines, pretending to love the grind. Then I saw her, Rebecca, standing by the glass conference room, whispering to HR. She glanced at me once, just once, and in that single second, my stomach dropped. You know that feeling when your gut tells you something before your mind catches up? Yeah, that was it. A few minutes later, I got the email. Subject line, urgent. Please come to HR meeting 10:30 a.m. I froze. My coffee cup trembled in my hand, leaving a dark ring on my desk. My coworker, Janie, leaned over and whispered, "Everything okay?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, just a meeting." But it wasn't just a meeting. It was the end of everything I'd built. At 10:30 sharp, I walked into that sterile conference room. The air smelled of cheap perfume and fake sympathy. Rebecca sat at the head of the table, legs crossed, expression unreadable. Next to her was Lauren from HR, polite smile, clipboard in hand, eyes already full of pity. "Take a seat," she said softly, too softly. I sat down. Then came the line that shattered me. "After careful evaluation, we've decided to let you go." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She folded her hands, pretending to be calm. "Your recent project didn't meet the client's expectations. We've had multiple complaints." Complaints? I just received praise for that campaign last week. I looked at Lauren. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Rebecca continued, rehearsed and heartless. "It's not personal. We just think you're not the right fit anymore." I felt my world collapse in slow motion. Every sound blurred. The hum of the AC, the faint tapping of keyboards outside, even my own heartbeat. I don't understand," I said. "I gave everything to this job. Every late night, every weekend." She interrupted me. "We've already made the decision. HR will guide you through your exit process." Just like that. 4 years erased in under 2 minutes. I wanted to scream, to ask why. But the way Rebecca smiled, that slight smug twist of her lips, told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about performance. This was personal. Walking out of that office was the longest walk of my life. Everyone pretended not to notice, but I could feel their eyes burning holes in my back. Janie looked up from her desk. She wanted to say something, but fear stopped her. By the time I reached the elevator, tears were already building up. I pressed the button and stared at my reflection in the mirrored doors. For the first time, I didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. That afternoon, I sat in my car for hours. The same words kept looping in my head. "We've decided to let you go." It felt like my life had been unplugged. I'd built everything, my career, my identity, around that job. And now, nothing. I didn't know it then, but that moment, that humiliation, was the start of something much bigger. Something that would flip the script completely.
Because a few months later, Rebecca would sit in a live TV interview, smiling, confident, pretending to be the empowered female CEO. And I'd be sitting just a few feet away, waiting, holding the evidence that would destroy her reputation in front of millions. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That day, I drove home numb and broken. I remember unlocking my apartment door and collapsing on the couch, still in my work clothes. My phone buzzed with messages, friends asking, "What happened?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, whispering one quiet promise to myself. "You took everything from me, Rebecca. One day, I'll take back my power." The days after I got fired felt like walking through fog. Time lost meaning. Morning, night, it all blurred together. My alarm still rang at 7 a.m. out of habit, but I had nowhere to go. No deadlines, no emails, just silence. For the first week, I tried to stay busy, updating my resume, applying for jobs, telling myself everything would be fine, but deep down, something kept bothering me. None of it made sense. Rebecca had fired me without warning, without evidence, and worst of all, she'd used the one project that had actually saved the company's biggest client as her excuse. Why? That question haunted me. Every time I replayed that meeting in my head, I could still see the way she smirked, confident, untouchable. That wasn't guilt, that was satisfaction. And that meant one thing. There was a reason she wanted me gone. A few weeks later, I met up with Jamie, my only real friend from the office. We chose a small cafe far away from downtown, the kind of place where nobody from work would accidentally walk in. She looked nervous, like she was about to commit a crime just by meeting me. "Jamie," I said quietly, "you can tell me the truth. What really happened?" She hesitated, stirring her coffee so fast it almost spilled. Then she sighed. Rebecca needed a scapegoat. For what? My chest tightened. She leaned in. "You remember the Summit Digital campaign? The one that nearly fell apart before you fixed it?" I nodded. That project had been a disaster. Poor planning, missing files, confused clients. I'd pulled all-nighters to get it back on track. "Well," Jamie said, lowering her voice, "Rebecca made a huge mistake with the budget. She misreported the spending to upper management, and when the numbers didn't match, she panicked. HR started asking questions. So she blamed you. She said you approved invoices that never existed. She even showed them fake emails, probably edited screenshots. I tried to tell Lauren the truth, but Rebecca's got connections. Nobody wanted to go against her." For a moment, I couldn't speak. The world around me went silent. Just the faint clinking of cups and the low hum of music in the cafe. So that was it. She destroyed my career to cover her own corruption. I went home that night shaking with anger. For hours, I paced the floor, replaying every memory, every meeting, every fake smile she had ever given me. But beneath the rage, something else started to burn. Determination. If Rebecca could twist the truth to ruin me, maybe I could find the truth to ruin her. I opened my old company laptop, the one IT had forgotten to wipe clean when I returned it. I'd kept it, hoping maybe one day I'd need the old files for reference. Now it felt like a weapon. I dug through old folders, emails, and archived projects. At first, nothing. Just meeting notes, presentations, old invoices. Then, jackpot.
Buried deep in a folder labeled Personal Archive was a series of PDF files, expense reports, company audits, and right there in plain sight were Rebecca's forged approvals. Same project name, same client, but the signatures? They weren't mine. They were hers, copied and pasted, then renamed. My heart raced. This wasn't just office drama. This was corporate fraud, and she'd pinned it on me. I printed every document, highlighted every signature mismatch, and stored it all in a folder labeled Truth. But I knew I couldn't just march into the office with it. Rebecca was powerful, protected. The company would bury it before it reached anyone important. I needed a platform where she couldn't hide behind her title or her charm. Somewhere public, somewhere live. That's when fate, or maybe karma, handed me the perfect opportunity. A month later, Jamie texted me a link. It was a promotional post from Cityline Live, a local TV network that ran business talk shows and interviews. The caption read, "This week's guest, Rebecca Cole, CEO of Westbridge Media, discussing women's leadership and corporate success." I stared at it for a long time, my pulse pounding in my ears. Rebecca, live, on air. For the first time in months, I smiled. It was poetic. She had humiliated me publicly, firing me in front of my peers, ruining my name in the industry. Now, I would return the favor. But not with lies, with truth. Over the next few weeks, I worked silently, patiently. I compiled every piece of evidence, emails, invoices, and testimonies from former colleagues who'd also suffered under Rebecca's manipulation. Then I found the key. Cityline's show had a segment called Audience Voices, where viewers could submit questions live during the broadcast. So I reached out, not as an ex-employee, but as a freelance marketing consultant who admired Rebecca's career. I told them I wanted to ask a question about ethical leadership in media companies. They approved it. I couldn't believe it. The plan was falling perfectly into place. Still, a part of me was terrified. What if she recognized me? What if she twisted it again, made me look like the villain? But then I'd look at that folder labeled Truth on my desk, and I'd remember every sleepless night, every tear, every moment she made me doubt my worth. No more silence, no more fear. Rebecca was going to face the truth, and this time she couldn't fire me out of it. The night before the show, I stood in front of the mirror rehearsing my lines. My voice shook at first, not from fear, but from adrenaline. I wasn't the broken woman she left behind. I was the one who had the power now. And when those studio lights turned on, I was ready to use it. The studio lights were brighter than I'd imagined. They burned like truth, exposing everything, even the smallest flaw you tried to hide. I sat quietly in the audience row, my palms damp, my heart racing like a drum. Around me, people chatted softly, unaware that this ordinary talk show was about to turn into something unforgettable.
Rebecca Cole, my former boss, my betrayer, walked onto the set, confident as ever. She wore that same tailored suit she used to wear on big deal days. Hair perfect, lipstick sharp, smile polished to perfection. To the audience, she looked like success itself. To me, she looked like a lie wrapped in silk. The host, a cheerful woman named Emily, welcomed her warmly. "Rebecca, thank you for joining us today. You've built quite a reputation as one of the most influential women in media. Tell us, what drives your success?" Rebecca laughed softly, pretending humility. "Oh, thank you. I think success is all about hard work, integrity, and empowering your team." Integrity. That word cut through me like ice. I gripped the folder in my lap, the one labeled Truth. Inside were the documents, the proof, the lies she'd signed her name to. Every piece of paper was a weapon, but my words would be the blade. The interview continued, polished, predictable, rehearsed. She spoke about creating a positive workspace, about uplifting women in leadership. Every word was a performance, every smile a mask. Then, the moment arrived. Emily turned toward the audience. Now, it's time for our Audience Voices segment. Real questions from our viewers. We have a few professionals here who wanted to ask Rebecca about her journey. My hand trembled slightly as I raised it. Emily smiled and nodded. Yes, you, the lady in the blue jacket. A spotlight turned toward me. For a moment, everything stopped. The cameras, the whispers, the heartbeat in my ears. It was time. I stood up, microphone in hand. My voice came out steady, calm, deliberate. Hi, Rebecca. Congratulations on your success. My name is Anna. Her smile flickered, just for a split second. She recognized my voice. Thank you, Anna, she said smoothly. What's your question? I took a deep breath. Rebecca, you talk a lot about integrity and leadership, but what do you say to those employees who claim they were unfairly fired or blamed for things they didn't do, while their bosses took the credit? The air in the studio changed. The cheerful energy drained, replaced with tension so sharp you could hear it hum. Rebecca's smile faltered. Well, sometimes difficult decisions have to be made in business. Not everyone can handle the pressure. I nodded. True. But what if the firing wasn't about performance? What if it was to hide something bigger, like financial manipulation, misreporting budgets, forging approvals? A gasp rippled through the audience. Rebecca blinked, her confidence cracking. I'm not sure what you're implying. I looked straight at her. I think you do. I held up the folder. Because I have the documents. Every report you altered. Every fake signature. Every email you deleted. You framed your own employee, me, to save yourself. The host froze. The producers behind the cameras looked panicked. Someone whispered, "Cut the feed." But it was too late. The truth was already out there, live. Rebecca's mask finally broke. Her face drained of color. You have no right. I stepped closer, voice firm but calm. You had no right? You fired me for something you did. You took my career, my confidence, my peace of mind. You humiliated me in front of everyone. But you know what you couldn't take? I paused. My truth. The audience fell silent. Rebecca tried to speak again, but the host intervened, clearly shaken. Rebecca, is there any truth to these claims? She stuttered. No, absolutely not. This woman is lying. Before she could finish, I held up one of the printed reports and read from it. Approval. R. Cole, 17th May, client, Summit Digital. Budget adjustment, $48,000.
Then I turned to her. Those are your initials, not mine. The host looked at her, confused. The cameraman zoomed in on the paper. The audience started whispering. It was unraveling, live, in real time. Rebecca's voice cracked. This is out of context. But there was no context left to save her. The evidence spoke louder than her charm ever could. Finally, Emily, the host, spoke carefully. We'll need to verify these claims off-air, but if this is true, this is serious misconduct. Rebecca didn't respond. She just sat there, stunned, shaking, exposed. When the show ended, chaos followed. Producers rushed in, cameras turned off, and security tried to keep things quiet. But the damage was already done. Clips of that confrontation went viral within hours. CEO exposed live on TV. Employee reveals corporate scandal. Rebecca Cole's empire crumbles. Every headline carried a piece of my story. But I didn't do it for fame. I did it for closure. For weeks, reporters called me. Companies reached out. Even lawyers offered to represent me. But I didn't want revenge anymore.
I'd already won the only battle that mattered, the one for my own self-respect. Rebecca was suspended pending investigation. Later, she quietly resigned. Westbridge Media issued a public statement acknowledging internal financial irregularities. They never mentioned my name, but they didn't need to. The world already knew. A few days after the broadcast, I sat on that same couch where I once cried after losing my job. Only this time, I wasn't broken. I was free. Jamie called me. "You did it," she said, her voice shaking with pride. I smiled. "No, Jamie. The truth did it." I looked out my window at the city lights, each one a reminder that sometimes darkness isn't your enemy. It's just the place where light begins to show. The next morning, I walked into the office, but the air felt different. Conversations hushed as I passed. My manager, Evelyn, wouldn't meet my eyes. A few minutes later, I got the email. "Please report to HR immediately." Inside the AR room sat Mr. Briggs, the regional director, and Evelyn. On the table, a printed email, my email. Except it wasn't mine. It had my signature, my tone, but words I never wrote. Words leaking the company's confidential client data. "We have proof this was sent from your account," Briggs said flatly. "You're being terminated effective immediately." I felt the floor drop. Someone had framed me. They made me hand over my ID card while security escorted me out, in front of the same people I'd helped for years. I remember their faces, confusion, pity, some even smiling. That night, I sat in my car outside the office building for hours, watching the lights flicker off one by one. And then I saw her, Evelyn, my manager, getting into Mark's car. The same Mark who'd always said, "You're too honest for corporate politics." It hit me. This was never about an email. It was about getting me out of the way. So I decided that night, if they wanted a villain, I'd give them one. For 2 weeks, I disappeared. No calls, no messages, just silence. But I wasn't sitting idle. I spent every waking hour digging through my old emails, backup drives, even archived server logs I'd saved just in case. And there it was, a clue, an internal message I'd copied months ago between Evelyn and Mark. "Once Kaleem's out, the client account is yours. Just make sure the email goes through from his login." My hands trembled reading it. They had forged my credentials. They wanted the promotion, and I was their stepping stone. I gathered everything, screenshots, timestamps, login histories, and sent it not to HR this time, but to the company's board of directors and the clients whose data they leaked. Within 48 hours, chaos erupted. Mark was suspended, Evelyn was fired, and the same HR that humiliated me called back begging for a private conversation. But I didn't go back. Instead, I sent one final email. "I wasn't angry because you fired me. I was angry because you thought I wouldn't fight back." The email went viral on LinkedIn. Thousands of shares, comments from people who'd faced the same betrayal. And as I read each one, I realized something. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about showing them you survived.